What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports lineup review show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm back with Hoop, my buddy Hoop. How's it going over there, man?
Oh, it's going well. I mean, it was a successful week 17. It's always good, and we talked about it on the Cash Show. It's kind of one of those weeks where if you really dig and you follow the news, you can kind of see the path and the path. Yesterday over the course of the weekend became pretty clear. I mean, we got some news, obviously, the Alvin Kamara news, and the rest of the Saints running backs being out. The path you wanted to go in cash games and probably even tournaments, it's solidified over the course of the weekend. And that's kind of what we talked about when we did that show on Friday with Holden. We said, what happens over the weekend will likely dictate the route that you go. And that was kind of the case this weekend.
Yeah, no, agree 100%. It just kind of, the news came out and I was surprised. Were you shocked to get no late news? I thought we'd get something at 11.
I thought we'd get a surprise, like, hey, this guy isn't playing. Like, I thought we'd get more of that. And there really wasn't at all. So, I thought at 11:30 on, 11:30 Eastern yesterday, we'd kind of be scrambling because something big was going to happen and we just didn't get it, which I guess, kind of made things a little easier.
Yep. I mean, I know the Eagles didn't play last night, but it felt like everyone else tried. And I was surprised. Yeah. I didn't think that was going to happen, which was very shocking for sure. Thought we'd get a lot of teams more so punting, but we did get some news on that. Obviously, the Chiefs punted their game early on. And let's talk about your team over here on FanDuel. Before we do that, though, guys, please hit that like, hit that subscribe on our channel. It helps us out a ton here over at Run Pure Sports. Helps us be able to do these free videos for you guys. Also, check out our NBA premium content we have going on. We'll be doing shows today. We got Hoop doing a show here on our YouTube channel at 4:45 with Big T. And then we got the final countdown show, which will be going on at 6:15, leading you up to lock with JSU and Holden. That is on the premium side. So check that out along with our cash game charts and so much other awesome content that we have going on.
Yeah, we got to give you some credit, man. The cash game chart was your idea, and it's been a hit. People are loving it. If you're not a member at Run Pure, the main concept behind this cash sheet, and it doesn't even need to be a cash sheet. It's just basically probably the best value plays on the slate. The best, the guys that are kind of in play for cash games, but you can also apply it to GPPs. Kind of your idea where, for NBA, each position, DraftKings, FanDuel, Mangone and myself kind of list the guys that we think are in play for cash games at each position, updated through lock based on the news. And then we highlight the guys that we think are kind of the building blocks, and it's been a hit. I mean, people are really, really liking it. So that was a really good idea on your part.
Yeah, I think it's gone really well. Members have loved it, so happy about that. Yeah, and if you're a guy that has tons of GPP takes, right? Let's say you're watching the games and you kind of really like Damian Lillard that night, and no one's gonna own him. You can just plug Damian Lillard in there at 5% ownership and then build around the cash chart, right? It's just that's how NBA is. I mean, people always want to get different and try and be super, super unique, but NBA is the one sport you don't have to. And I think that's an area where we can help out a ton with some of these guys in tournaments.
Yeah, that's right. That's for NBA, it's the easiest way to apply it for GPP players. I mean, if you're on a couple very contrarian type guys, you could easily just go to that cash sheet and kind of fill in your team with the NBA is the one sport for sure where you don't want to go fully off the reservation. If you got, a couple guys that are going to be single digit owned, three of those dudes, probably want to fill it in with just good value, good plays overall. And that's where the cash sheet can certainly help.
Yeah. So check that out over at Run Pure Sports. Let's talk about this lineup though that you got here, Hoop. This was a good team. I looked at something similar to this. I had a 2v2 or 3v. I think I had a 3v3 off it. But it was definitely a really good team and one that I considered. Break it down for me at the top. Lamar Jackson, one of your lower owned guys. Were you surprised to see that? Because I was.
Yeah, I kind of thought people would just play him, and they really didn't. I mean, actually, you ran pretty bad if you played Lamar because. They absolutely blew him out, and he was done basically. What was it, halfway through the third quarter? Easily could have had a 30-some fantasy point game, but stopped at 25, which was fine. And at the running back position, I mean, you were basically just playing there's four guys really in consideration: Madison, Ty Montgomery, Derrick Henry, and Jonathan Taylor. You're trying to find some sort of combination of those four, and you needed three of them. Madison had the big game. I thought he was more of a lock at 5K. I was going to play him at 5K no matter what. I thought Derrick Henry was a lock. And then it was just kind of finding the right fit with guys like Ty Montgomery and Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, the proper move here, or the one that would have paid off the most, was probably getting off Devontae Adams, getting on Jonathan Taylor, and then you really would have had a massive score. Marvin Jones, as soon as Matthew Stafford's ruled in, they said he was going to play. I think Marvin Jones became like a staple around the industry. I mean, that just let us know that the Lions weren't resting their guys. You didn't have anything to worry about. The fact that Stafford, who was dinged up, was going to play, it made me feel real good about Jones. I felt good about Hawkinson as well at tight end. Didn't end up going there. They had the big narrative with Justin Jefferson. They were going to get him this record, and that was the case. And, after a slow start in the first half, you could kind of see in the second half they were just forcing it to him. And he had a big game. Very popular play. As I said, Adams was very popular, a guy I wanted. Good thing he got that touchdown at the end. Could have been a disaster.
Yes.
And then at tight end, I mean, it really didn't matter at tight end. Like, no one had the big game. 4.2K here for Parham. I was good enough with him. I mean, other guys I was considering was Fant, Hawkinson, Evan Ingram. I was like, you know what? I don't feel great about all those guys. I'm good just going Parham. So that was kind of my thought on this team. It obviously did well. I mean, these were all chalky plays. I mean, basically every single chalk play got there. So it was a good week for guys like you and I.
Yeah, no, definitely was. Evan Ingram was one I didn't really want to play, and I didn't know how hurt he was. I didn't know what the whole status was. I actually ended up going a 3v3 off yours, and I think it came close, but I think yours won out. You had Jefferson. I had I'm blanking on who the receiver was. Tight end, I had Noah Fant. Receiver, I had Mike Williams, big Mike Williams.
Oh, Mike Williams,
yeah. But Fant was so bad, right? And then I had Brown's defense. So I think actually it's because Parham beat out Fant. Fant was not the greatest. And they had Fumagale out there. They had some. I didn't understand what was going on with the Broncos because it felt like Fant was not getting the run or the work or the opportunity like all the other guys were. So that was kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it was a weird one. I mean, in hindsight, I feel like probably should have just gone Jonathan Taylor. I mean, but the teams were good. I mean, the right move probably was Ty Montgomery. There's more uncertainty around him than those other running backs. You find a way to play Taylor, and I mean, maybe get off Adams. I don't know. I had Adams as a lock though. Like we talked about on the cash show, I thought you just played Adams no matter what. I don't know. It's tough. It was a good week. It was a clear cut week, as we said. I mean, you're just deciding between 2v2s, 3v3s. I was surprised though, like you said about Lamar Jackson. I thought a lot of people would just lock him in, especially on FanDuel where those rushing touchdowns can be so valuable. I thought he would just be a guy that everyone played, and he came in a little bit lower.
Yeah, I think more people went Russell Wilson than you'd expect it at 7,500. And the problem is that Taylor route, the only way you could do that was Ty Montgomery was 4,500, so he helped make a lot of things work. So if you moved off him, it wasn't just that. It's he was 4,500 and Jefferson. Jefferson was basically he was 8K, right?
Yeah,
while Taylor was 8.4. So not only did you have to you had to just go under the 4,500 range. You had to get off of something, right? It was probably Lamar Jackson you had to get off of. So it was hard to do. I know exactly what you're talking about, looking at. And that's why I built that one tournament team I was talking about before the show. But overall, it was a good slate on FanDuel. And we'll have the 3 gamers coming up for the Saturday and the Sunday slate. Let's go talk about the DraftKings slate now and kind of talk about this. Now, look at my team here that I have. We got Kirk Cousins, Jonathan Taylor. I ended up jamming in there over on DraftKings. Ty Montgomery, Adams, Richie James, Jones, Parham, Henry, and the Cleveland D. What'd you think of me going Kirk Cousins? Because I was a little uneasy doing it, but I kind of got okay about it when I heard Stafford was playing, and it just felt like that game was going to go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the route you definitely wanted at running back is you wanted Taylor, you wanted Montgomery, you wanted Derrick Henry. And that obviously worked out really well. The difference between FanDuel and DraftKings was Madison was 5K on FanDuel, which is $500 above the minimum. On DK, it was 6.1K. So you really didn't even need to consider him there. So I think that trio at running back was the clear path. There's not many times where you prioritize a defense, but the Browns at 2.5K, you just played them. It was a really good spot at home against the Steelers, who were resting Big Ben. You knew some of their other starters would rest as well. At 2.5K, I think you had to play that defense. Marvin Jones at 5.1, same thing we talked about on FanDuel. As soon as Matthew Stafford's ruled in, Jones becomes a lock for me. Devontae Adams is a lock. So to me, the only thing you're really deciding at this point is quarterback and wide receiver. Now, with all those guys that we considered lock type plays, you couldn't get up to the top tier at quarterback. We talked about it on the cash show on Friday. Okay, we want Adams or Lamar. It became hard when you start locking in these other guys. So you had to do, Parham at tight end, which obviously turned out well. You had to go the cheap wide receiver with Ricky James. And then you were left to go with Kirk Cousins, who, like you said, that game, and we talked about it on the Wood show too, became very clear that there's no concerns in that game. They're rolling out their guys. Like, they're playing their guys. The total was massive, right around 55. So yeah, you felt better about Cousins with all the news, and this team obviously did really well. But I think it made a ton of sense.
Yeah, here's a question I'll ask you, because I debated this one, and I put it on some tournament teams, kind of off of this team, just because I knew there was like a train of people on this. But instead of Richie James, I had Andy Isabella as a guy I was looking to play, and he did nothing. He I think he played 27% of the snaps. But I figured with Larry Fitz being out, that would be like an interesting pivot at 3K. What'd you think of him? Because I had him at the initial at 1 o'clock. I had Andy Isabella in there because I thought that he was actually going to get like a decent amount of run, but then I got more nervous as we got up to 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I mean, there was a lot of viable dudes. I mean, how much did this team, was it just right at 3,100? Or
it was at 32. It was at
32. Yeah, so the other guy maybe would have been like Reynolds. I think Reynolds 32.
Yeah, I think Reynolds was 3,200. I don't even know how he did. It felt like Van Jefferson did a lot though.
When I was So I mean, it's tough with those Arizona guys because those secondary dudes have not done like anything all season. I think James was probably the safer play, but I mean, with all those guys ruled out, it became a conversation. I think you made the right decision here in going James. It was tough though. I mean, you anytime we get all these injuries, Fitz is out, Kirk is out. You want to look to the players on that team. But those guys just haven't done anything in these situations all season. So, I think James was definitely the right move.
Yeah, it was not the easiest decision for sure. When I kept looking at it, I was like, man, like he could easily slot into that role and do something. And I also thought, hey, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be covered by Ramsey all game. Like, sure, DeAndre Hopkins isn't a guy that gets stopped, but he's going to be slowed down. It's not like he's going to go for 200 on Jalen Ramsey. So, I think I did get hurt a little bit too by Kyler getting injured. That was also another thing that happened during the game. So it is what it is. But, James was perfectly fine at 9.6. I do want to mention, before we move on and talk about this Millie Maker team that we're going to look at, please, guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe on the video. Appreciate it a ton. Also, want to mention Monkey Knife Fight. We have a code matching up to $50. Use the code RUNPURE over at Monkey Knife Fight when you sign up, and you get a little deposit bonus. Instead of having $50 in that account, you'll have $100 in that account. So do that, and then tweet us a screenshot of your win and use the hashtag RPSMKF, and we'll pick 2 winners for a t-shirt. So, just do that on Twitter, and you got a chance to win some free swag. Hoop, let's talk about this Millie Maker team here. Let me scroll up to the top because I'm on my team that I ended up doing some pivots on. And the winner had, let's see, no double tight end here, Hoop. I know the 2 weeks that we looked at it, there was no double tight ends. But I mean, this was kind of what I thought could take things down this week. More of like the balanced build, right? I was actually really surprised. There's no Derrick Henry or Adams on this team, which is very shocking. I thought Henry would still be on.
Yeah, I figured Derrick Henry would be on it, but not. And like you said, that salary getting off of him went a long way because it got you off those cheap wide receivers who did not have explosive games. So, I mean, that was the big difference. It's the same core essentially that we talked about, but you get off those really cheap wide receivers. You needed to get up to Jerry Jeudy at 4.2K, who going into that last drive, this team had no chance to, probably way down there. Then you get that massive Jerry Jeudy, whatever it was, 90-yard touchdown, and it gets you home. Cooks obviously had a huge game. Marvin Jones obviously had the huge game. And then Antonio Brown, big game. Can't see, was it 34 fantasy points or something he had?
And that's AJ Brown, not Antonio. I know Antonio.
Did I say Antonio Brown? I meant to say AJ Brown. Sorry.
Yeah.
So 34 fantasy points for AJ Brown. Let's look at the correlation here. They had Cooks, they had Brown. You had the Cousins, Madison, Jones correlate. Yeah. So I mean, there was some correlation in this lineup. Defense, I mean, really didn't matter at all this week. I mean, there really wasn't a big defensive score. didn't really have to worry about that. They had Jasecki at tight end. No tight end had big games, so getting anything out of your tight end. I mean, was Parham the highest scoring tight end this week?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
I will say there's a chance maybe it was one of the guys in like the 4K range that like maybe no one played, and like maybe he outscored him by like a point or two, but it wouldn't have mattered, right? Like it just wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
A tight end.
Yeah. So I mean, AJ Brown was the difference maker here. Obviously, playing him over Derrick Henry, like we talked about. I mean, that extra $2,200 went a long way. It got you, like I said, got you off all those cheap wide receivers and got you to Judy, got you to Cooks. Solid team for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely a solid team. And the one thing I'm thinking about here, Hoop. So this team won by like 4 fantasy points over the other one, which is pretty crazy in the Millie to win by that much. And the second thing I'm noticing is like, you remember AJ Brown caught that really late ball to basically like secure that field goal for them? Like
it was like a 50-yard catch. That
was $1 million catch, right? And it was also, so look, he had 151 receiving yards, AJ Brown. So that probably got him the bonus as well. Like I don't know what the exact yardage was. Was it 50 or was it like 48?
I think it was a 50. It was like a 54-yard catch, I think.
Yeah, so that got him the bonus. It got him a catch. It got him like literally like a massive jump. He was probably like, way down like in like maybe like 10th or something and jumped all the way to $1 million.
Definitely did it. That is crazy to think about. Yeah, that catch at the end. What bad defense too. I mean, what awful defense to allow that to happen.
Yeah, that was a disaster. I'm scrolling through some other teams to see if there's anything else like different. I mean, there's a lot of receivers. There's Gronk is on the winner. I mean, that's how bad it was. 4.5.
Yeah, so Isaiah McKenzie, he was I think on the second place team maybe.
Oh, was he? McKenzie had a monster game at 0.6%. I actually did a show with Coop, and Coop liked going McKenzie over Gabe Davis. So
really,
that was his
call.
Off. Yeah, definitely paid off there. And then the Darwin Thompson. So did you here? I want to ask you about this because we're cashing guys, right? Like, if we got news like a little earlier that Darwin was like the guy, do you think we would have played him more?
Man, it is tough because it's a team that's just not playing for anything. I don't know. I'd probably not, to be honest with you. I mean, I probably would have stuck with those other 4 guys, but obviously in hindsight, it worked out really well in tournaments. But I think even if we got the news, I think I would have been with those other guys because they're on the teams that wanted to win. I mean, I'd like to say I would be on them, but honestly, I think I'd probably still stick with those other running backs.
Yeah, and I want to mention, so there was a higher scoring tight end, and I should have known it was Waller, right? Waller did put up 30.
Oh, Waller, yeah.
I didn't even realize it because I was doing NBA stuff too. I'm sure you were doing some NBA stuff as well. Yeah. So the 4 o'clock games, and I wasn't watching, Raiders, Broncos too much, but he had 30.7, which is kind of crazy to think he wasn't even on the winner. Like the tight end put up 30 and he wasn't on the winning team. Like that's just crazy to think.
That is wild, yeah. I mean, really, just you had to avoid the cheap tier at wide receiver. So if you're spending up in these other spots, you probably had to go too low at wide receiver. That's the only thing I can think of, like because it doesn't make sense. I mean, you'd think if a tight end just absolutely laps the field in terms of fantasy production, you'd need him on the winner. That is why it is pretty crazy to think about that he's not on the winner, and he basically outscored every tight end by close to 20 fantasy points.
Yeah, it's crazy to think. And overall, though, pretty cool team and pretty good season overall. Excited about that. But we have NBA now, so I guess Hoop, before we get on out of here, we talked about a little about the NBA product. Sell the people who are watching aren't signed up that should come over and sign up.
Yeah, so I mean, we're gonna have content all through the NFL playoffs as well. There'll be some showdown slates that we'll cover. All the main slates we'll cover. We'll have shows. We'll have playbooks. We'll have core plays. We have PGA starting this week, and our PGA content was on fire last year. We're gonna pick right up where we left off on that. The NBA, like you said, the NBA product has been very solid, and the results have been good. I mean, a lot of people in our Discord chat posting nightly winners. We got the new sheet that we talked about. We have the playbook where AP basically dives in game by game, gives you a full breakdown, highlights the plays in that game, and then kind of ranks the plays at the top. We'll have our shows, like you said, 4:45 Eastern, and then JSU and Holden, and then sometimes you're on there as well, taking us right up to lock, and that is a premium show. I mean, so a ton of stuff going on. The product, I think it's improving. It's definitely improving, and I'm excited for where we're at for sure.
Yep, I'm excited too. We got golf, NFL content will be awesome too for the weekends. We'll have all the 3 game states. We'll have all the showdown stuff for you guys. Tons of awesome contests to win. So check that out. And NBA has been on fire. Not 1, but 2 100K winners from one of the guys. And we got tons of other people doing well too. So excited about that. But that'll wrap it up for us on the lineup review show. Thanks a lot for joining us. For me, Mangone and Hoop, we are out of here.